Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Veg Networking Canada. We acknowledge that many of us are located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of many Indigenous peoples of Canada. Today, we have a special guest with us. He is a 21-year hospitality industry leader, specializing in team management, customer relations, fundraising, and strategic operations, with a proven track record of increasing sales by 25% through innovative initiatives and optimizing labor costs. Veg Networking Canada is pleased to introduce the General Manager of MILA. Welcome, Jeremy Eisenbaum, or Baum, as he's known in the industry.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all.
Well, Jer, thanks for being with us today. Before we hit record, you got to meet some folks who are with us live, but there's going to be plenty of people listening to this after the fact. So why don't we jump right in and start on a personal note, and you can tell everybody about your own personal plant-based journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I am what I proudly say is that I am an advocate and vegan at work and vegetarian at home. Um, we all have certain cheat days that we kind of seek out, but for the most part, I am health conscious and worldly conscious of the impact that certain things have on our food industry. I think that is in a collective sense, we could all do much better at having a more clean offering, healthy offering with different choices that are innovative and delicious. So, personally, my journey was influenced by my partner, who is a horticulturist and vegetarian. And when I came to MILA restaurants, I was absolutely blown away by the creativity, and what some would consider um, alternative options for what we are quite known for in like traditional food sense. So, your burgers, your pastas, they can be done very, very beautifully in vegan options. So that was really fun for me to explore, and I feel so much better eating the food here.
Yeah, it's for those who don't know, MILA Plant-Based is a single location restaurant experience in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Um, my father is by trade a master horticulturalist. So that's cool to hear that you have
Very
that kind of
cool.
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So what led you to join up and join forces with Mila and kind of your journey as being an entrepreneur and then now being an entrepreneur as the GM? Like what led you
Mhm.
to join forces?
I've always been in restaurant worlds, so the formula of operating is very similar. It's where your passions lie, and it's where your morals can be more appreciated. And so I was in different, um, let's say, culinary experiences or culinary offerings, be it Italian food or Mexican food. I've operated those types of operations. This showed me a really cool challenge in a niche market to try, not so much in an evangelical sense, but in a broader community sense of building more awareness for the vegan offerings, the plant-based offerings. And ours is what I can proudly consider one of the best offerings in the city, possibly the province. I don't want to be as bold to say the country, but we could go toe to toe with anybody in our offering. And I think this is the type of, sorry, my lighting. This is the type of offering that can really intrigue and attract the general public.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, in terms of the brand, the brand that is Mila, where is it going in the future?
That's a great question. With any hospitality operation, you really want to be mindful of your costs and I guess in your world, Justin, pro forma and projections. These are things that we see a lot behind the scenes of growth. So Mila is standing strong. We have a sister business called Pi, also in the industry, also standing quite strong. They've been in business for 8 years. We've been in business for 5 years. Um, the the growth of the business will prove itself with our ownership to invest further into multiple locations. Um, So it's a matter of growth and sustainability and finding the most attractive community to allow us to flourish. So I guess to answer your question, I would love to see multiple locations of MILA, but it's really a matter of time to build up that strength.
Now, everybody, pretty much everybody understands plant-based in general, veganism in general, has been a trend and also further gone towards an actual transformation. Like people are transforming their the way that they arrive and show up in the world. And so in terms of trends, or better yet, transformations in your industry, what have you noticed?
That's a great question. So the trends are people seeking out nourishment and quality without compromising uh, their needs for protein and those types of things. So getting really innovative and creative with protein options. So tofu, edamame, um, vegan alternative proteins that form into the shape of meats or vegan ground, like a vegan mince, I guess some people refer to it as. These types of things make it very, very fun to play with, creating, your meatballs or your chicken breasts. And so we get these alternative meat proteins, soy proteins, these types of things that allow us to create and form beautiful dishes that are attractive to all audiences because we are in a transition phase. I still think as much as we see veganism, veganhood growing, we are still in that transition of gaining more awareness and exposure, and we need to do that through innovative menu opportunities and dishes that attract not just the general public to as options to see, but to rejuvenate those that are already in this industry, or sorry, in this population, that want something new that's not just the same old salads. I think the best opportunity for you to see boring dishes are restaurants that will have an attempt to put something vegan on their menu to satisfy some guests out there, but you're not going to win over the hearts and minds of the veganism or the veganhood just by putting hummus and dip on a menu. So it has to be something that pushes those boundaries.
And we all love hummus and dip, but I mean to think that
Sure.
that's a a menu item. So touching a little bit more on that. So 21 years in hospitality.
Hmm.
Outside of product and menu and food and beverage, is there, because obviously that's what restaurants are built on, but there's so much more that goes on now in terms of that. Like, are there any other trends or transformations like in the hospitality industry at large, other than food and beverage, that you've noticed, or in terms of people
Sure. I
or
mean,
culture or community?
the impact of social media has changed how we market ourselves. I mean, that's been a very big influence and impact on the overall impressionability of restaurants and how we get outreach. Publications of the past, when you would be in certain magazines or newspapers, those things have changed. That demographic of audience is different. It's much more rapid, so you have to do a lot more video engagement in trying to show where people can do fun things with videos, being a little cheeky and hop on certain trends that are, excuse me, lively and entertaining. My personal belief is that the the restaurant world needs to thrive. You have to invest in your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The weekends should sell themselves, and that should something that is very easy to fill. And you reach out to those weekdays, whether it's happy hours or your weekday opportunities, through building a strength in community. I think you really need to have a regular base clientele in your 1 to 2 kilometer radius of your restaurant, and that's how you thrive. You're really becoming a social space for people to break bread, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that I've noticed, you mentioned Virtuous Pie, the sister company. I know that I've seen as being part of this community for a while. I've seen Chef Matt talk on certain platforms, and it seems like a really cool, meaningful, again, not trend because I don't want it to come and go, but more of a transformation in how businesses are operating. But I'll see Chef Matt ask for feedback about menu and things like that. And it's one thing to ask for it, and it's another thing to actually implement um, those responses, and which I've seen
Mhm.
over years. And I think that that's to your point about building a community and all of that. Asking for input is one thing, which is great, but then actually delivering on what that
Yeah,
input, yeah. So I thought that
yeah,
that was worth mentioning too.
yeah. So when you're referring to Chef Matt, that's Matthew Blandy. That is our operations director in our company. He has a wealth of knowledge, and his ability to connect with not just the team members, our partners here locally, both in MILA and in Virtuous Pie Victoria, um, the the respect that he has for individuals of their opinion and hear what they want to see in the menu, both in guests. That's like that's like an incredibly humble way of connecting with your people and having people have their voice and voices heard. And as you mentioned, his implementation of ideas, um, he makes it his own, or he makes our input profitable, right? There's an operation technique to it, but but what an incredible trailblazing pioneer in this community. I feel that people like himself, people like Aaron Ireland, these are people in our community that elevate the opportunities, and it only comes from feedback from your guests and things that they miss, things that they love, things that they've seen on social media. They're like, hey, why can't we have this in BC? And these people make things happen, which is an exciting company to be around.
For sure. And we have Simon who's with us right now, and he's in Canmore. And in the chat, he said, OMG, talking about Mila. OMG, the menu on the website looks all caps delicious. I'll need to do another road trip back to Vancouver. So, yes, Simon, for sure. We'll get together when you do. Jarrett, in terms
Yeah.
of the next question, we've had guests answer this from their own personal story as well as maybe the brand that they may be representing in the conversation, and it's around giving back. There's so much more that can go into giving back in charity versus maybe just donating actual money. And so, for you and or Mila, what does giving back mean?
Well, yeah, that's when we are set in. Sorry, I feel far too relaxed, but you guys definitely have a relaxing environment here. We have a very unique position physically in this city. We are in Chinatown. So we have a lot of unhoused and those that are dealing with mental health issues in our community. And so we do reach out, we do support that in certain areas and certain times. Most especially our kitchen, their hearts pour out for individuals in the fall winter season. So we do work with local communities in that area and have every intention of doing that again in the coming months and years. Our ownership, the family that's behind us, does a lot of community integration and furthering the reach of vegan, plant-based menu development and awareness through things like eco cooks and different groups out there that have impacts on the younger generation of how to show them what to do. Um, our my boss, one of my bosses is Brienne Smart. She's an incredible asset to any team, and she's the regional manager here with MILA and Virtuous Pie. And she's done a lot of outreach with different schools, different programs to show them how these kinds of things can be easily brought into your diet, your daily meal prep, which is often the best way to connect with groups of the next generation.
That's amazing. any organization or any person has my heart if they're helping those who are less fortunate. I cannot imagine the thought of wondering where my next meal is going to come from. So that marginalized population, and then as well kids. So if anybody's helping one of those groups, let alone both of those groups, through plant-based nutrition, and how to show up in the world, I think that's amazing. So thanks for sharing that. That's so awesome. Now,
Yeah. Yeah, it's sorry to interrupt, but there's a lot of heart that I've found in this place. The team that I work with, they all lead with kindness. One of the first things that we do when we engage with guests is to know if there's any allergens at the table, just to make sure that everybody's safe, getting to know the level of severity, and then the kitchen's aware of it. And then we bond with these guests so that they have an assurance that when they come back next time, we've got them taken care of. And I think that's a really cool part of our operation and our offering.
absolutely. And for those listening who are vegan or 100% plant-based, it's Mila's one of the restaurants where you don't have to go and say that you have an allergy to meat, dairy, or eggs, because none of that stuff is going to have it. So that's amazing. So,
Yeah.
um, Jared, now in terms of resources that you would recommend, typically we're gonna, ask what are some resources that you would recommend for entrepreneurs or people like yourself who are intrapreneurs? But I'm wondering if maybe, because we have a lot of people who listen who are business owners who are interested in innovative initiatives and optimizing labor costs. And in the intro, we talked about how you have a proven track record of increasing sales by 25%. So just keep that in the back of your mind maybe when you think about this question. But yeah, in terms of resources to recommend maybe to that segment of people who are looking to achieve that increase in sales, or just overarching general resources for entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a different market space now with resource availability. The internet is it's got its good, it's got its bad, but the wealth of information and opportunity now is more vast than ever before. Um, with the uses of some AI, like AI can be good in some areas and very devastating to industries in other areas. Most especially anybody that's recording or acting or performing or music. There's so many industries that are being impacted in a negative way by AI, but the actual collection of curated information on the internet is where I find value in those types of bots. um, but YouTube can be very, very helpful. Um, uh, Coursera, I think that's if I'm saying that right. This is an online university or college that you have a lot of free opportunities to do that. I know during COVID, I did some brushing up on skills in different areas because all the classes were free and I had ample time to apply to certain areas and gain some knowledge. Um, Podcasts like this throughout Spotify and things, anything that you can get knowledge from those in an advanced experience or a history in the industry. When I started, it was a lot of apprenticeship and internship where I don't know enough about the current employee market space and their willingness to do that. But a lot of that was how we would seek out those that had great success in the industries and the particular culinary industries that you're interested in. So I think that's where there was a little bit different of opportunities back then. I'm sure that there's internships available now, but those that are seeking like a mastering of the skill set, you really got to put in the effort and um, don't limit yourself to a 40-hour work week if that helps in your development stage. Let that be your sponge of learning and gaining knowledge and then applying. Like, you really need to have the opportunity to apply those techniques in real life settings, because you are working with people, and at the end of the day, the people are what make your day good, bad, or otherwise. And they're the ones that are going to come not so much to as a rescue, but they're the ones that are going to save your business. Is the people that both patronize you and the ones that support you in your team.
And without giving away, I guess, like your secret sauce of how you've had this track record of boosting sales and everything like that, in terms of resources, is there anything in your journey that's helped you from like you mentioned AI and YouTube and Coursera. Are there any other resources in terms of books or I don't know, individuals that have really helped shape your journey and what you're doing?
In the culinary sense, I did love things that I mean, I love watching chefs. Um, I'm a fan of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants. Was it makeovers or takeovers and those other things? Those are obviously production based shows that give you a little bit of the darkness, and then there's always like a fluffy ending of everybody's happy. Um, so those are kind of little bits of experience that you can see in an over dramatized way. Um, to come back to your question about the track record and things, um, I don't know if there's any books that I particularly recommend, but the one piece of advice that I give to all floor managers or general managers is get to know your neighbors, get to know your community. That's the one element that's helped me really make an impact on restaurants and businesses that I've worked with. Like, you know, open yourselves up to catering options for local offices, local schools. Um, yeah, if you're waiting for people to come to your restaurant, you're going to be waiting a long time. Uh, you need to have the effort to get out, introduce yourself, connect with them, bring samples, and let them try your food. Food is a very personal connection, and I think when people try it, there's the literal sense of satisfaction. Your taste buds, everything gets so livened up and awoken. And as Simon mentioned, he read the menu. Reading some menus would be like, "Well, that's really intriguing," or "Wow, how do they do that?" or "Oh, that's really cool." But once you try it, there's a memory there, and I think that's where people become quite. That's where you become regulars, is the service and the memory of those experiences in a restaurant. So getting to know your community is the number one thing I would recommend managers do outside of their typical tasks, the daily rituals and daily tasks.
Awesome. And we'll touch on that question at the end too, in terms of like
Sure.
advice, lessons, tips. Now, okay, so you've mentioned your partner, you've mentioned the owners, you've mentioned Brienne, you've mentioned Chef Matt, you've mentioned Aaron Ireland. With all of that being said, feel free to touch on more about them or others. But the question is, who or what inspires you?
My team, my team's hard work. When they come to me with ideas, I challenge them to put those ideas into a formula, like a formula. Like they have to look beyond just, hey, I whipped this up at home and here it is. There's a lot of steps in preparation and execution that go along with that. So challenging them on how well things can be executed in a timely sense in the restaurant, how things cost, where to source these things. Is it a reliable source? Those are things that I like to bring to their attention. Um, but if your team isn't driving you, you're in the wrong team. My team is what I value every day. They're the ones that take my direction, but also give me feedback. And I think that's the same thing. It's one thing that I've really gained an appreciation from with Matthew Blenny or Chef Matt is being open to hear what your team is saying, because they're the ones that hear from their guests every day, or they're eating your food every day, or they're experiencing some level of positivity or constructive feedback in your restaurant every day. So the team is what I rely on. I hope that helps answer your question.
Yeah, no, for sure. Of course, the team is a big source of inspiration for you. It makes sense based on the
Mhm.
conversation so far. So last point of conversation here for you is exactly that. Do you have any advice, lessons, tips? Typically, we say, do you have any advice, lessons, tips for entrepreneurs? But again, there's a very close link between someone like yourself who's an entrepreneur
Mhm.
and entrepreneurs. So yeah, any advice, lessons, tips aside from what you mentioned about getting to know your neighbors and community?
Um, I mean, to sound a bit cheesy, persistence pays. be persistent, be dedicated, um, have daily rituals that you don't compromise from, the things that you need to stay on track with, whether it's a mindset, whether it's an agenda, follow up with your own tasks. I mean, nobody's going to be harder on you than you, and if you're not taking care of your responsibilities, you'll find yourself stressing over things because you're managing time poorly. So I think those are types of things that really need to be attended to so that you can succeed.
Beautiful. So that's all the questions that we have lined up, but we always let our guests kind of have the open floor at the end. If there's anything in their life personally that they want to chat about, or maybe again professionally, anything maybe we missed in the conversation, or maybe that we touched on a little bit, but you want to touch on more, anything like that, just the floor is open, and then we'll let everybody know where they can drool over this menu and find the location.
Okay, so one thing I could share is that we do pride ourselves on being a top offering in the city. So we call ourselves premium casual fare. So we will do, typically it's a, think of like Easter. So in April, we'll do a spring summer menu where we launch that until Thanksgiving around fall, and then we'll do a fall winter menu. So we do a semi-annual menu switch where some people are like, hey, where's my favorites? They will come back, I promise. But I do want to give the opportunity for different seasonal change, different produce and different freshness that can intrigue people. It also allows our team to be innovative, bring some new ideas to the table. I am a big believer in collaboration. So having that opportunity for them to bring something and then it can be refined through their teammates or myself. That's exciting. I live and breathe this place. I love it so much that the food and the excitement that we get from our guests. I can't wait to have Simon in the dining room and have him experience this. Those types of things really warm me up. That's what drives me is in this industry. If you're the the punches we get daily, just with different curveballs that are coming at us. That's the silver lining is that everybody walks away happy. I want my team members and I want my guests to be leaving the restaurant happier than they came in. And I'm hoping that they were happy when they came here, but leaving with a positive impact is everything that means something to me. That is so exciting. On a more personal note, I guess I do keep myself busy. I play sports. I am proudly one of a board member of a fundraiser that annually raises money for Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so that's exciting. Last year we did $225,000, which was really a lot of money, a lot of wishes coming true. So giving back again to the community and giving back to certain organizations that can have a bigger reach than the 12 of us that work on this event, and then the 600 people that come to this event to support it. It's very rewarding. So that's one event that I help with. We talked about community outreach. Giving back to the community is really something that drives me as well. I think it helps influence my team to see that my heart doesn't just end with them. I want to reach as many people, and again, bringing people together is a big part of my world. So that's what I love doing, and I think that this industry it's a good fit for me.
I couldn't agree more. So everybody, like we said, you can go ahead and drool, get a reservation, hop in when you can, make it an experience. MILAplantbased.com. That's MILA. So MILAplantbased.com. And as Jared was talking about social media, you can check them out on Instagram at MILAplantbased. So everybody, thank you for joining us for another episode of Veg Networking Canada. Everybody who's listening on your own time, everybody who's here with us live, thank you for carving out some time and spending it with us. This has been another episode where we got to have a great conversation with the general manager of MILA, Jeremy Eisenbaum, or Jeroboam as he's known. Thank you so much. We'll catch you soon on another episode. Take care. Bye for now.